Hi guys, Amy here. I just wanted to wrap up our blog template discussion from last week. I'll start off by commenting just on the blogs that you guys created overall. In general, most of you did a very good job with this. However, I did notice that some of you struggled or are still struggling to embed links, and some of you, or most of you in fact, are still missing the labels that will allow your audience to hit on your blog when they search in a search engine like Google or Bing or something like that. So I have a few examples of blogs that I think really fit the criteria that I was looking for in the instructions that you saw here. So I wanted to point those out. There were several of you who were able to meet all of the criteria, but I just pulled out a couple because obviously I didn't have time to talk about all of them. But one of the first ones that I noticed was really strong was Francesca's blog. So this is what her blog looks like here. You can see she has a header. She has a title that's different than her header. She does have a background, although the background here I think might she could be maybe just a little more creative with it, although this is certainly acceptable. But the thing I really wanted to point out about this one is all of the embedded links, which you can see actually work. And then also the labels at the end. So those things that I was talking about, several of you were missing. You can see all of those represented here. And again, the labels are just going to be words that would relate to what she's talking about in the post, as you see here, because her post is about, addiction, meth, and the dangers of using meth. Another one that I saw that met all of these criteria was Jeremy's blog, which is funny because he had commented on Francesca's here, but we can go to his and just take a look at how he was executing each of the components of the blogs that you guys were creating. So here's his. You can see another background. This one is maybe a little bit more suited to the subject of the blog, but what I do want to point out that is strong about both Francesca's and Jeremy's backgrounds are that they do not distract from the text. And so sometimes it can be tempting to use an image for your background, and that can be really powerful, but the primary focus here should be on making sure the text is at least legible, and so you don't want to use an image that would distract from the text in any way. He also has a different header and title. He's got the embedded links that we can see work. He's also done a really good job embedding his photos and making the text wrap around the pictures. So that's a little bit of extra skill there. And then he's got labels as well. So music, proud dad, Weird Al, those are all things that relate to this topic that he's writing about. And so would allow someone who is searching for the same topic to land upon his post, which is how readers do access blogs. Okay, and then the last one that I wanted to show you here is Rebecca's. I wanted to pull hers out because she also did a really good job with the labels. So let's look at that one. You can see she's got a background, she's got a header and a title. One thing that I noticed was that it was kind of difficult to tell where her link was embedded here. There is a link, but there's not a different color for that text until you hover over it, so that might be just one really nitpicky suggestion I would have. But again, really good job with the labels: help, LGBTQ, psychology, struggle, which is what she's writing about. So I just wanted to pull those out as good examples of everything that I was asking you guys to do here in the instructions. And so make sure that for your blogs, by the time you post your final campaign analysis drafts, that you are using links and labels and all those things, because you'll notice those are mentioned on the rubric and you will be graded on your ability to execute the conventions of the blogging genre. So several of you, if you're looking at your grades for this week's discussion, if you were missing those labels or embedded links, those points were taken away from your grade for the discussion this week. And remember, your links do need to be embedded within the text so that the URLs themselves do not show. Okay, you also had some really good comments for each other. I already talked in my midweek feedback about the fact that the discussions were going in some really interesting directions, especially given the fact that you guys got to write about pretty much whatever topics you wanted to. But I did want to highlight some of the stronger conversations that I saw going on, we can start way back at the beginning of the discussion earlier in the week here. Let's take a look at Mariah's thread, because she had a really interesting conversation with Garrett going on. You know, there were a couple of important conversations that I've already highlighted in some of my other comments this week, but I really wanted to focus on the exchange here between Garrett and Mariah, because it started out talking about the issue that Mariah was blogging about in general, and then it kind of became pretty personal as Garrett was asking questions about, you know, how old is your daughter, what is her name, and it just kind of went on from there. So I thought that was cool that the two of them were able to get to know each other a little bit through this week's discussion. And I also noticed that that was something you guys were picking up on as well, that some of the conversations got to be a little more social, maybe a little bit more personal, and so that was enjoyable for you guys this week, and so I was glad to see that. Another one that I noticed was on Christian's thread. Let me see if I can find that one quickly. It's up a little further, I believe. Nope, I already passed it. Okay, sorry, closer to the beginning. I did notice that Rufin had posted a pretty good example of the kinds of comments I'm looking for. He definitely is extending the conversation, talking about the issue at hand here, and really asking a lot of questions. And so I wanted to pull this one out, because then you can see the kind of response it prompted from Christian is extremely in-depth and really pushes the conversation much deeper and in a new direction. So I thought these two examples were good ones to pull out, because it shows you how the kinds of comments you provide each other throughout the week in your discussions can help you get to know each other personally, but also help you get to know the issues that you are interested in researching more deeply. So that was kind of something else I wanted to emphasize in your comments this week, is that sometimes the topics you were blogging about led you into some really interesting discussions, and I want you to keep these things in mind as we move into Unit 3 and you start to think about choosing topics for your research project. So another place that I saw some good topic kind of focused conversations going on was in Alexandra's thread. So let me find that one quickly. Back a little further. Okay, Denisha here had some good things to say to Alexandra just about the issue she was blogging about in general, and they actually got to talking directly about their topics for the next for the blog essay, but also things that I thought would be good for the next unit as well. So I do think it is possible for your two topics to tie together for these two units, and that might help you if you want to use the blog as kind of an exploratory process to figure out what topic you may want to research in the next unit. But that is exactly what Alexandra and Denisha are talking about here. Denisha is talking about her topic related to drunk driving. That would be a good campaign to analyze. I know Mothers Against Drunk Driving has some television ads that would be useful, and Alexandra is also thinking about choosing her own topic. So again, that's fine to do. I would love for you to choose something that you might be able to tie into the next unit, but make sure you email me first and run your ideas by me to make sure that you're analyzing an ad that will be appropriate for this assignment. And then I wanted to point out some strong things in your reflections as well, but as we move into that, also highlight one particular thread that I thought exemplified all of the things that I'm talking about here. And it may take me just a minute to find it. There it is. It's Denisha's. So she posted her original URL, and then I asked her to embed the link, which she then did. She got a couple of comments from her peers right away and responded to both of them. And then she started having a really good conversation with Francesca here and provided some really in-depth reflections at the end. So the comments that you see in Denisha's thread here are indicative of the kinds of extending the conversation that I'm looking for in your comments. And then also her reflections all do exemplify what I'm looking for as you're synthesizing all of the conversations that were going on in your thread and reflecting on what you learned throughout the week. And I did think it was good that she posted posted those reflections here at the end of her own thread, which is my intent, so that it kind of serves as a overall end comment or a way to wrap up, as I said, the conversations that have been going on within your thread throughout the week. A couple other good examples of that that I saw were the reflections in Mariah's and Devin's threads. There were several of you who had very strong reflections this week, and again, I can't pull out all of them here, but I did want to point out a couple more of the good ones that were really achieving that synthesis that I've been talking about. So as I said, Devin's was one. Let's take a look at his. You know, he had his blog embedded. This is another really good example of a blog that I didn't get to show you guys, but if you're looking for, you know, the header, background, title, labels, links, all of that, Devin did a really good job. There's a couple of comments. You can see already a conversation with Denisha gets going right away. A few more comments and he's replying, and then he gives an overall end comment. So notice too that his reflection at the end of the week is separate from the replies that he provides to each of the comments he received, because like I said, it's more of a synthesis that combines everything and reflects on what he learns or has learned throughout the week. And then finally, Mariah's was another one that did a really good job with that. Mariah always has strong reflections, and she always does a good job separating her replies to the comments she receives from her reflections. You can see that down here. She's having a conversation with Garrett. She gets a comment from Brandon and replies to him, but then there's a separate reflection that really sums everything up. So again, that's really what I'm looking for. Several of you had strong comments that were posted outside of your original thread, or excuse me, reflections that were posted outside of your original thread. You can see those here, you know, Mason, Ashley, those were good reflections, but again, just make sure you're putting those within your own thread so that it kind of is directly tied to the conversations that you are reflecting on. And then I also noticed that several of you posted your reflections on Friday night this time. I'm not sure if that's because spring break is coming up and you were trying to get out of town this weekend or what, but in general, please do wait till after the Friday night deadline to post your reflections, because you might receive some comments right up until midnight on Friday that you would want to take into account in your reflections. And if you post your reflections too early, you might get some comments that you wouldn't end up replying to, and again, that kind of just arrests the conversation and prevents the conversation from going in a new direction. Okay, that's all for this week. If you're taking your spring break this week, I hope you're having a great time. If not, good luck with your rough drafts as you work to get those up for tomorrow night. And as always, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.